Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binaries. This is it wouldn't let me preview the screen, but I can see that now. It looks too bad. A little bit. I wish I could adjust the contrast. It is Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Eve, and I've been thinking about a few things. I just wanted to I couldn't do it in the X format of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, because I'm not with the exclusive premiere package, which I should eventually just do, but I'm not. So you got to do 2 minute, 20 seconds. So I think I'm in the mood for kind of a longer format, a little longer format. It's it's a new Azus. So I have spent the last probably 30 minutes trying to undo the factory settings and then getting YouTube to jive with me. So, and I'm assuming that I've got the audio working here. I can see about mid on the audio. So I hope you're picking me up. It might be coming from the laptop. I hope it's getting in on this. But the Christmas tree looks pretty. It looks kind of dreamy and shiny. Look how, wow, it's magical. It's magical. Ice water. I'm out of lemons. I normally like lemons. So, and then Raquel, this is one of Raquel. This would look good over here by all these other shining little crystals on here. This is one of her healing crystals. Right? So just right into the psyche, interdimensional time warp. God, I wish we could put on some EDM dance music. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, on the headphones so the neighbors don't get pissed off, but on the headphones, loud on the headphones right here. I don't know if I could do that with the screen share. I might be able to. This studio format is totally different. My dashboard is completely different here on YouTube. So I guess it's been a while since I've chatted about anything. So listen, one of my concerns, and anybody that knows anything knows that what this guy is right here. You see that? It's kind of, maybe it look better over here. Yes, that's right. This is our very unfriendly, just a grumpy old man Scorpio. Old man Scorpio is rearing his head out and riding on the moon. So we have the moon entering Scorpio at midnight. So at Christmas, once again, right? Can't really see that. See if I set that there, you can't see it. So at midnight or so. So once again, what I wanted to say is this is kind of a precautionary tale. It's not a doomsdayer. I hate the doomsdayer stuff, right? But we're looking at not an exact, but a similar type of alignment where the revenge of the Scorpio enters right in the middle of the holiday, where people are already suffering. They're already not doing well. All in all, in the the psychiatric world, which I don't know anything of. I'm not a doctor, but I do know psychology, and I do kind of pride myself on being an armchair psychologist, but which means I know absolutely nothing about anything, right? I mean, the wise man says, I'm a fool. The fool, how does it go? Says the wise guy is the fool. And the guy that says, I am a fool is actually the wise guy in disguise. Something like that. But the Scorpio is in, people are having a tough time. So that data there, I don't have any hard data. That's why I kind of paused. But this is the roughest time of the year for most people. It's wintertime, yes, but it's also the holidays. So childhood traumas can be brought up or often brought up. You can't escape that when you are a survivor and you've had some of that trauma, which unfortunately, a lot of people have had childhood trauma, that where it lingers with you forever. It almost kind of like a ghost, if you will, or a spirit. And I think that's really crucial in for therapeutic terms, healing ourselves, is realizing that that is haunting us. And we don't want to be haunted anymore. We don't want the spooks of our past, of our childhood, the trauma, the PTSD is a spook. It doesn't have to be there. You could liberate yourself by simply fixating on letting that go, accepting to yourself the wounded warrior, the wounded soldier, the wounded white knight, if you will, which white knight syndrome is a whole nother thing. And I've actually kind of modified it so it's not just like, anyway, don't get me started. Don't get me started on the white knights. Oh my God. It's almost like narcissism. Can we escape narcissism? I haven't been able to escape it out anywhere I go. I'm sorry. Prognosis is not good at escaping the narcissism. The tsunami, narcissism tsunami. But this little guy is what I'm kind of worried about. I haven't had any like really like intense, impressions. So I don't want to pretend or say, God, my hat really got squished. Dang. I don't want to say that I have anything solid. I just know that it's an easy prediction because people are self-medicating. That's the other thing is that the data shows there's a lot of excessive drinkers, and at this time, right? I mean, duh. But in my opinion, a part of that is you can't even see that. It's sitting right on the keyboard and you can't even see it because of that camera. Anyway, so there it is. It's right there, buddy. It's right in front of me. Mr. Scorpio. So that's intensity. It's revenge. So, and as I'm just kind of, we all know the self-medications. Everyone self-medicates. Everyone. Some of those are legal. What do you call that? The supplements like teas and valerian tea. I mean, they soup up valerian, and that's where valerium comes from. It's actually that root, but it's quite a different process that they do. I'm sure I don't actually know, but well, I know a little bit about it. But what my point is that the valerian root tincture, and you can buy that in teas. They usually market it as extra sleepy time. Like I know that whatever that celestial seasonings or whatever that major one is, they'll call it that. It's not there's sleepy time, and then there's sleepy time. Then there's like sleepy time, and then there's extra sleepy time, where you should look for sleeping like maybe 3 or 4 days, like going into a cave. Like full on Neanderthal caveman style, where it's long rest. Rip Van Winkle it, and come out 20 years later, like, what the fuck happened? But so that's we're looking at. I'm referencing now. This is the handy. I recommend everyone pick up one of these for 2025. That's your homework. That's your homework. That's your assignment. 2024 Astrological Pocket Planner. It's super small. People talk about the Pocket Constitution. I always joke this is like my Pocket Astro Constitution, but it has it has all every day, and then in the back, every day. What I mean is like where the moon, the sun, and then any type of just the basic information is Venus going retrograde, what's going on. And we can look here and we can see that Scorpio moon is clicking in at 12:06 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 3:06 East Coast. Christmas Day, Merry Christmas, Christmas Eve. We love it. Raquel did this wonderful, this is an Oregon grown Douglas fir behind us this year. We went Douglas fir. And then Happy Hanukkah for those, the Festival of Lights. I have no problem with winter solstice and celebrating the winter solstice. I think that, and then it looks like Kwanzaa, which I'm pretty sure was a CIA type of, kind of like the fist was a CIA symbol. I think Kwanzaa, I could be wrong on that. I remember reading that there it was like a dude in his basement kind of hatched it, and then it kind of spread like wildfire, if I remember right. But I don't know. It's cool, but hey, happy Kwanzaa, because Raquel and I used to pretend that we were celebrating. We really weren't deeply connected with Kwanzaa, but we did go through that brief period. I think we might be over that by now, but I don't know. I'm feeling a happy Kwanzaa coming on right now. Hot damn! And then there's Festivus. God, we can't forget about the Seinfelds and God, that whole fucked up family and show. Festivus is pretty cool though. So then you get a new moon on Monday, which new moons are just as powerful as the full moon. So I didn't want to do the whole thing as an Astro. But I did see that Scorpio line up. I think it was Thanksgiving. And I think we had Mars or something going direct. It was right. There was a couple of things happening. And I always look for that. Like, I'm not really a deep scholar of astrology. It should be pretty obvious by now. Right? Good grief. I call it stranger danger. Okay. I look up and it's like if some of the stars or the planets or something isn't jiving right, and I'll hear, because I follow a few other like actually grand astro type of people. I like older women astros. I think they're more trustworthy. Not like I'm a hater on the elder guys, but I would never listen to an old guy tell me shit. Sometimes I do, but anyway, the whole point is that we glean the intelligence. We all have our outlets, or we should have our different outlets and sources. Journalists got sources, writers sources, right? Intel. These guys have all got their sources, little rat lines, narcs and snitches and bitches. It's kind of like that. That's how I look at it. I'm kind of gleaning it. I glean. I like the word gleaning. It's like, you come in after all the harvest and everyone's left. All this stuff, this great food is left, and the poor folks come through, or the smart people, really, who cares on their, but and they glean the food. They pick up the food and they use it. It doesn't all go. It doesn't waste, because it's really would be waste. It's left behind for whatever reason. Like maybe that wouldn't make it for market. So gleaning, we do that with intelligence. We do that with intuition. We do that with kind of like with psychic energies. We call this gleaning. I call it gleaning. Who's we? me and the Scorpio here, the Skeletor Scorpion. This guy is like, yeah, that's it. We're gleaners. I'm out. I feel like going out gleaning right now. Gleaners. Okay, well, watch out for that. Whoa, Doc. You got to watch out for that guy for sure. I got this huge screen that just popped up. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, I think that was all on that brief Astro. I want to encourage you, like I already said, I already plugged it. This one's Llewellyn's. I think they're like $10 or something. It's not very much. So as I was saying, it's been 13 minutes. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. This is a tough time for a lot of people. Every year I go through kind of like, I'm a triple Gemini, so I got a lot of like dual type energy type of things so I look at everything like that too. It's really, I have a lot of optimism and spiritual renewal. And then with the reflection, when I reflect back, there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of death and despair that happened to us as Americans. I mean, God rest the soul of this woman on the subway where they just film it. We're in a society now where we just stand around and we don't want to be xenophobic or racist and get involved, right? Rep AOC says, we're racist if you help people on the subway. So we're just going to videotape it, make a TikTok of a woman burning up after some punk lights her on fire? What the fuck happened to us? Merry Christmas, huh, gang? Merry Christmas. I would have thrown my jacket on her. I would have been patting her. So they say don't pat burn victims, but I would have put the fire out. Where's the fire extinguishers? Don't get me started on that. Wasn't what I wanted to talk about, but that's a perfect example of a dark wormhole. I don't think it's not quite that dramatic, but it feels like that way to me. Because when I start thinking about it, I get sucked into it. Like it's got to be like a black hole because you can't escape the black hole, can you? I don't think so. When you're in that pool, I mean, I think you're going in. You got to ride it. It's like a surfer. That's how I envision it. God only knows what it's really like. But I have to imagine a black hole is kind of like a giant, scary wave that kills most people that are in it. And if you survive, then and hopefully they get on video, they've got like some trophy and a big Bob Marley blunt that they give you. And there's like 6 beautiful coconut oil women in bikinis. It's pretty amazing if you survive those waves. God knows what happens if you don't survive that wave, right? And so we have spiritual tsunamis. We have surfer tsunamis in the water. We have spiritual tsunamis. And we have atmospheric rivers, which are another, I'm calling them atmospheric tsunamis, because it's really a complete washing over and destruction. People are losing their lives. There was, if I got the story right, they're missing. I don't know if they want to say they're just going to give up on them, but where are the bodies? 2 brothers in Northern California. And, I've been making memes of kayaks and stuff with a pineapple on it, kind of symbolizing Pineapple Express, and making memes of panda bears, because it's really a panda express, right? This atmospheric river is going the entire length of the Pacific Ocean. The entire length. At hundreds of miles an hour. Did I mention that part? Hundreds of miles an hour. So that's incoming. And we still have that to look forward to tomorrow, which is really kind of exciting. Because if we survive that, we're going to have some awesome tsunami stories to tell our grandchildren. So, and I think it's really important in dark times, in despair, they say, humor kind of lightens it up. And boy, that's really true. But to also look at it from another perspective and actually take the dark and turn it into a light or something that is positive. And what do I mean by that is, in great times of despair, sometimes we gain massive spiritual power or spiritual enlightenment that never would have happened if we weren't in that horrific dark hole of despair, wherever that place might be. I'm just metaphorically, it's someplace very unpleasant, right? Like a dark, dank cave and you're claustrophobic, right? I mean, that's pretty rough for most people. Something like this, and you need help getting out, whatever that is. It's all psychological. We trap ourselves in our minds. We hold ourselves in these caves. We hold ourselves in these little prisoners of ourselves. We are the liberators that were waiting to come rescue us out of our caves. We are able to leave those caves. And that is the energy I feel coming on. So when I step aside for a moment from the reflection of the despair and the devastation and the hundreds of thousands of little children that have been blown into little pieces of hamburgers all over Gaza, all over Syria, all over Lebanon. It's disgusting. Savage, Fox. So if we can look to that wormhole of doom and despair, set it aside. Because you're going to have trouble moving forward if you can't set that aside. All right? Because empathic people, empaths, they're absorbing extra. It's like somebody that has iron overload or a hemochromatosis, which is the body's absorbing too much iron and it can't get rid of it. It affects only men, middle-aged. But it's like that in a way. It's empaths. It's overloading their system. If you can't set aside the darkness, the doom and gloom, the depression, taking on those little babies of hamburger, and the father's holding them, bloody, sobbing, dust covered on their face. It's the darkest look you've ever seen on anybody. A father holding their dead, dusty child. It doesn't get any darker than that. I don't care who you are. I mean, you can take it in different angles, but is there anything that emotionally traumatizing? Not for me, but I'm a father. I can't imagine holding my dusty child in Hamburger and then seeing my neighborhoods destroyed. So if we set that aside, see, I can't set it aside. It's a black hole. It's a wormhole, maybe. It sucks you in, and it'll suck you down, and you got to shake it. You got to shake it, see? Somehow you kind of a shake, like a flicker. You kind of just, it's like kind of not a stretch, but kind of a stretch of the hand. It's like you got to shake it off, set it aside. And then you look at the positives. What could possibly positive be there? Well, what's happening is that there's insights that are coming to light. Things that were dark are coming to light. And the slang on the street slang is the red pilling. We're having a massive red pilling moment on a populist political movement, which has exposed big pharma medical fraud. Very, very important, very critical to you can't see my hand here. It's a little better. The big pharma fraud has been exposed. So these darkness of these Fauci, for example, God, there's a million different things. This is a big one for me. Again, I'm a father, and once you go through that, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't experienced it, please fill out the application and give it a shot, because it's a game changer. But Fauci gave 100,000 pregnant women this experimental mRNA. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And without a lot of data, and without a lot of paperwork, none of this was transparent. I mean, it's kind of like what was done and what was hidden. Was there some things it's being released? There was actually some different studies that came out, and all the animals died. There's all these other really weird things that are coming out. There's a study that happened right now that was stopped, experimenting with babies with the RSV, the respiratory virus, RSV. They had an mRNA application study going with Dr. John. I was just watching him a couple days ago, but before him, it was God. I love giving people credit when it's the first that broke it. And it was weeks ago that he actually mentioned it and made a video, and he says none of you know this, but they stopped an mRNA campaign right now, and it's not being discussed in the mainstream media. And I was like, whoa, I love it when people do stuff say stuff like that to me, because it's like, that's the best intel. Sure enough, nobody for weeks has known anything about it or is talking about it. It turns out that, I don't know if I can, let me see if I can share this. I might be able to with this new format. Let's see if it'll share. So, and then the other question is, I wonder how much, well, you can see that, but, so I can bump that up a little bit. So this is coming out. This guy's talking here.
Vaccines are very, very closely monitored and assessed for safety and for immunogenicity, so how well our immune system reacts to the vaccine.
So Dr. Frunk, he's not a bad guy, and he makes an interesting point. I did catch that, because I'm not against the monoclonal antibodies. That was what was happening that came out of that whole mass big pharma experimentation in 2020, 2021 that Governor DeSantis was using. And it had what appeared to be marginal success in Florida. It was not a jab. It was something other than being a jab. It was monoclonal antibodies. So, but this one here, this is saying December 12th. And that's when the press came out. Well, we found out, I think it's in here, that it was actually July that they knew that this was actually harming the babies and making them sicker with RSV, because the mRNA sends the lipid nanoparticles to every part of the body, to all the organs, to all the blood vessels, in through the brain barrier, and they're giving it to babies. So they did 90 babies, 30 placebo, 30 with one mRNA, 30 with the other. That's what this article says. And I will drop that in the I didn't actually intend on doing this with the same. It's okay though. We're going to be flexible. It's really important. This is really a big deal. I won't spend a lot of time on it because I'll let you review it, but this is really a big deal. They stopped this. So it's, it doesn't mean that they couldn't pick it back up, and it doesn't mean that they haven't removed the mRNA out of the other junk that they're proceeding with. Moderna is talking about opening 4 different laboratories in Canada. And Pentagon wants to do 3 something in Pennsylvania's 3 different properties. What are they doing down there? Do they want more biolabs too? We can't go forward with these more biolabs, in my opinion. You might have strong opinions on that. Spend some time to think about it. I got to get some water here. Hang on. So this right here, briefly, the enrollment of children aged younger than 2 years old, respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, naive children aged 2 through 5 years into clinical studies of RSV vaccine candidates is currently on hold in the United States. According to a briefing document by the FDA, the document was released ahead of December 12th Vaccines and Regulatory Biological Products Advisory Committee meeting. So I have Dr. John gave me, you've got his video. I hate to mention the guy without doing a link, but he's very famous, so you know where to find Dr. John. So anyway, the point is that there's also that other document that's included. I'm not going to go through that because it's boring. This is the meat and the potatoes. The halt follows a severe respiratory disease safety signal. Safety signal means when the infants die or are sick and things are not going good. That's a safety signal, and that's what happened, and that's what hit the pause. Now, could they unpause it? I pray to God that they don't. None of this gene stuff, mutated gene type of, it's not a therapy, but that's what they're calling it. It's gene therapy used in like cancer, but to give healthy people it's creating a lot of problems, in my opinion. But do your own research. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not pretending to be. I just wanted to discuss this briefly and talk about a wormhole. I was talking about these darkness and things that are happening, but this is a perfect example of how we can actually make a positive and show you the spin of a positive from the darkness of the mRNA. This one has been paused. I mean, can we get a witness? Somebody say, praise God. Somebody in the back row say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. This needs to be paused permanently. But this one is going into it. It talks about the study, what I just quickly was saying. 3 parts, A, B, and C. Part A is randomized. The mRNA 1345 and mRNA 1365. That's the platform. That's really creepy. So what's going on? It's talking about the whole thing, how it's doing it, had the placebo, and at least if they're showing this, here's the other part, is that none of this was shown before. We didn't have any discussions. We didn't get to see all the gerbils because it hadn't been done extensively, or some are indicating that Fauci and others knew that there was adverse reactions and risks, and they went ahead and did it anyways. Why? That's a diabolical to create more turbo cancers to fight cancer. I mean, that's diabolical path. You have to make up your own mind on that. I'm not saying one way or another exactly. I've got my opinions. I'm pretty open about how I feel about this. I'm not an anti-vax guy, but I have to be now because I don't like the mRNA platform. I've seen too many adverse reaction videos of people's lives that have been devastated for a variety of different reasons. And it wasn't just the mRNA, it was the other platforms that were creating all kinds of weird strokes and stuff that they were discontinued. So you have to make up your own mind. I'm reporting the news on the sense that I'm not giving you the opinion. I'm telling you by a sequence of events, the safety signal led to a study pause. What was the safety signal exactly? It was, I think, 6 babies were ill, 6 cases among cohorts 3 and 4 in Part B of the study. There was an imbalance in the number of cases of CS severe, very severe LRTA in the vaccine groups, as there were 5 cases in the mRNA 1345, 1365, 15 something groups compared to 1 case in the Part B placebo, right? So, I mean, that's just basic scientific math. You've got these cases that are coming because they've been juiced up with this genetic mutated gene cocktail of whatever the holy God it is in there. And it should not be given to babies. It shouldn't be given to pregnant women. You know, there's a study out of Brazil that was talking about spontaneous abortions. Spontaneous combustions is just as bad and emotionally as devastating to a woman. Spontaneous abortions down in Brazil, studies there. That was there in 21, I believe, and that data was buried, but it was there. I remember reading it. Of these 6 cases, 5 required hospitalization, including 1 infant who required mechanical ventilation, which is a horrible thing for an aging adult or anyone. But for a baby, you don't ever want to have to mechanically ventilate a child. And as we saw from the New York data, that's the fast track to crossing over into the other side, right? So, well, let me come back. Wow, so that's a cool new dashboard here on YouTube, or maybe it's just interacting with this new computer, which was, very, very inexpensive computer, but that's how I could afford it. And but the point is that this is all brand new for me. That's why it feels like I'm driving a new car or a different car, because it is really. But so, all right, so I got the Astro there. I got the Scorpio warning. People that vengeance. So, we're gonna have some vengeance. There's been pretty much violence for all the holidays. That's the other thing is, I'm seeing burning Christmas trees. We saw some sort of a doctor. We saw some sort of so-called psychologist from Saudi Arabia with Israeli connections drive his BMW through a Christmas holiday. It looked kind of like a Saturday market. That's what we would set up on Saturday market. It's like a mall. It's kind of like an outdoor mall is what it looked like to me on video. But he ran over 100 people. And then he was saying Allah Akbar or something as they were arresting him. I'm getting over some sort of walking ick, man. It's God. We're under some serious viral loads in this city. Everywhere I go, people sound like they're near death and coughing, and it's bad. It's not good to panic people, but at the same time, it's like I'd like to see the data. I mean, we got to be monitoring. I mean, I'd like to monitor. Can we monitor without scaring and freaking out people? Probably not. I mean, any kind of data load that shows what is coming out of, like, Nebraska, for instance, checks their sewer. I mean, Portland could be doing that. I mean, it sounds weird or gross or whatever, but it's a scientific way to monitor viral loads in your city sewer lines. I don't think Portland has ever done that. I've never heard of data. They may not want the data, but why not? I mean, there's no curious scientific minds up at OHSU that's now crumbling. Everyone's jumping ship from corruption and sex abusers and malpractice. What a fucking nightmare. That entire building on OHSU should be converted into low-income housing. And we'll do a floor for the psych ward. We'll do a floor for inpatient treatment. And there's plenty of room up there We'll liberate all those monkeys. We don't need any more drug tests on the monkeys. If you still got fucking monkeys up there, or whatever the hell you guys are doing in the animal labs, all that's going to be shut down. Bye-bye. And we're going to make it into low-income housing because we got people out in the squalors, out in the streets, in these little Fenty pod tent cities where the women are getting raped and the men are doing bad things to everybody, themselves and included. And it looks like some sort of Mad Max. It's worse than Mad Max. At least Mad Max, those guys weren't doing Fenty yoga exercises, where it was like, I mean, it looks more like kind of like a zombie film or something, At least the Mad Max crew, they had some spunk or, kind of pepped up on the go-go pills or something. But it's really important to stay positive if you can. And as I was expressing myself, that the duality of these holiday seasons. Also, I got sidetracked with the German. They always do these crazy fucking shit murder massacres around the holidays. It's always been that way. So it's not just my psychic intuition, like my hair goes up, I get the spidey sense, and I'm like, oh, fuck. But it's also psychologically, I'm like, okay, well, it's Christmas or it's Thanksgiving or what's the other, Passover and October 7th was the 1 year prior. That was a holiday as well, Judaist holiday. So they do this like back and forth, Middle East. Well, it also happens, those patterns happen here in the States, obviously. God, I mean, I'm seeing we learn to recognize obvious patterns. We don't minimize that it's a simple pattern and easy to predict. We just state that what I stated, right? Because some people may not know that those obvious patterns are there and it's predictable and it happens. Well, it happened again. They're in Germany and it's going to happen again tomorrow in the country. And it's not just going to be one place. There's going to be multiple people that are going to have psychotic breaks. It's not just the Scorpio and the energy. It's psychologically they're at a breaking point. And it just takes certain type of celestial type of, this is me kind of spraying, because it's really, you can't prove this type of stuff. But as we believe that the lunar influences us, the sun, the electromagnetic energy, we can scientifically see that juicing the planet. We can actually see those coronal mass ejections coming out and taking down 40 different Starlinks at hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. Saw that. Elon didn't even talk about that until I brought it up publicly, or maybe somebody else. I don't think so. I saw it happen. And that was from a coronal mass ejection that it brought down these satellites that could not get out into the upper ionosphere, the orbit. I'm not totally sure how that lays out, but there is a layering process where they have to get out away from the gravity enough to where they can actually do their orbit, and that's just going to get crazier and crazier. If you see video of all those orbits and things like that, it's millions and millions. Well, I don't know, but it could be. They've got old satellites and old orbits that are coming in, and those are re-entering into it. And they are all mostly made out of aluminum. So you have aluminum from the jet fuels, all the commercial flights, aluminum oxide. That's what is contaminating people's food supplies. It makes people have dementia at 30 instead of 70. And it makes people at 70 have like very, very severe neurological problems. Get my point. That's obvious data that's happening. The direct causation correlation argument is still yet to be pieced together. And I hope with this Maha, that's something that we can advance through scientific data. We can change the commercial jet fuel. And so it's no longer has the aluminum and the barium and all these loaded up. It's so different than the way that they had it before. And that's a part of why we're seeing chemtrails is there's more pollutants. There's more crap. Aluminum, which that oxide is reflective. That's what you're seeing is the aluminum oxide at the right temperature, which is a chemical. So people go, oh, it's a contrail versus a chemtrail. No, folks, listen, it's all one airplane exhaust. It's the Scorpion Airbus, and it's all shooting out the back side, and it's all using the same JPA, jet fuel, that has aluminum and barium and the nasty shit. But the satellites do too. They're made out of aluminum. So when they come in and re-enter and break up, it's not just like, oh, wow, isn't that beautiful? That's actually poison. That's aluminum that is poisoning. The concentrations that were minimal are going to increase because we have Chinese now with thousands of these satellites coming in. I think that was the big one that they're seeing zipped on by down through the south. Maybe they were trying to frame it on China, but it kind of sounded like they knew what they were talking about. And it kind of sounded like it was technically a junker, like it had burned out or something. Just the little info that I read, I didn't do a deep dive on it, but I thought, well, are they blaming China or was it China? I don't think anybody's really denying which of their shit is going down in flames. I don't know. Maybe they are. I have no idea. But it seems like people are, like SpaceX kind of coughs up usually and says, this was our shit. But anyway, so it's 41 minutes, a little longer than I wanted to do. But so, I'm rambling as usual, but I really want to just express that there is a way to make light and make positivity out of what's dark and what has been negative. Different experiences. The whole big pharma reveal in happening with that finally making mainstream media. We had a couple of years with Biden. That's why we're so ecstatic to see him go. It's far than just that it's been a senior care facility. The guy's crapping his pants. I mean, it's really bad, right? It's very inappropriate, touching other families' children. Don't ever do that, FYI. You don't ever touch someone's fucking kids, even in public for photos like that. It's just very disrespectful. All of that shit, it's way beyond that. Way beyond all that, which is huge. But we're talking about being on the verge of war. And what God, it's so many different things all at once on what having those guys, the grip hold, we're still going to have to deal with it. But to have the reveal of what they were pushing and continuing, they still do with this mRNA stuff that needs to be removed from the mass populace, in my opinion. And that study that we just reviewed shows that they did exert a positive decision to hit pause. Now we could pray that it just stays paused and no longer do we experiment with those babies anymore. There's no more experimenting. This experimental stuff is not working out. It's not working out so good for us. There's a lot of people that are dropping. A lot of people. So as we reflect back on all that we have lost in the trauma from hurricanes and all of this devastation, keep in mind that there is positive truth and dynamic that has come out of this. That phoenix rising, if you will. Kind of like Syrian girls talking about how she felt Syria was the phoenix rising. It's not done. They lost their leader. There's been betrayal. There's a total switch up. These rebels are not going to be there long. I can guarantee that they are going, hey, it's pretty obvious. You don't have to, it doesn't take any psychic impressions to really get a feel of what's coming there. So, I mean, the Middle East is, it's like it's sand through an hourglass. When all the sand goes through the hourglass, the sand becomes glass, right? Through excessive heat. None of us want that. I don't want that. Sometimes I feel like maybe some people do want that. Like, I mean, why would you cheer on Israel instigating World War IV with multi-nuclear nations? Who does that? Is that the Christmas spirit? Is that the Hanukkah spirit? That's the Festivus spirit, right? The Festivus guys are like, let's fucking nuke the fucking Middle East. But there's positive in all things, and it can be something as cheesy as crystals and good books and creativity, being creative. It's therapeutic. The creativity is therapy, and you also help heal as you get other people creating. You help them heal themselves through the artistic therapy. So Julia Cameron is your homework assignment. If you're not exposed to her, I've been promoting her for like 25, 30 years. Julia Cameron, The Artist Way, A Path to Higher Creativity. A Path to Higher Creativity. I don't have my book right at hand. I did have this other, I found this old like 1970s, The Astrologer's Handbook, but it's so funny, man. It's like, I don't know. I could just see someone reading that in like a dark green avocado Toyota Celica or something. You know, like one of those old. Remember how all the cars were like avocado green or rust brown? It was like we went through an earthy phase. It's like where all the fossil fuels were burning like earth tone. They were all earth tone painted. So, but heads up, there's going to be people seeking revenge, and it's almost always domestic in the holidays. Now that happens no matter what. But my theory is, or the hypothesis is really not a theory. It's a working theory, meaning it's a series of hypotheses that if that energy of the Scorpio is influenced the lunar, which the moon affects the tides, which we have a huge, massive, it's going to be days of atmospheric rivers coming. It's going to dump snow, which I think it's exciting. So, but there's, those couple of kids in the kayak that I was rambling about earlier, they're missing. And, so I'm doing memes of kayaks, and here's these with North Carolina in the meme. North California. So I'm making all these memes doing alert. We got atmospheric river. Like 2 weeks ago, I was making those because they saw it on the radar. But if that type of energy, this is the more of the lunar, which it does affect the oceans. And there's huge, massive waves coming with this atmospheric river from the winds. So it's like you can feel those CMEs from the sun. Multiple volcanoes are cracking right now. Multiple 7-point earthquakes and bigger cracking right now. Down by Vanuatu, the Indonesia, and that Tonka, the big, huge one that sent salt water and gas 52 miles into the atmosphere a couple years ago. That one's right there. They're all been cracking. And there's another one up in Alaska, that's been on the that little archipelago chain, Aleutian Islands, thank you, they've had multiple sixes, swarms. When you get swarms of sixes, that an 8 or a 9 could pop. And that's what people were making videos about. I caught that. It didn't, thank God. But when that happens, then we're going to have another tsunami like we did in, I think it was was it 30s or 40s on the West Coast that swamped out Crescent City. I can't remember what year that was. It's a big historical thing, into the redwoods. So I've been having visuals of that. Like I keep seeing like tsunamis, and it could just be atmospheric tsunami. But we could actually see a real 100-foot, 200-foot tsunami wave hit the West Coast. And it feels like it's going to come from Alaska. So, and I was feeling that before the 6s, but everything's been so quiet for weeks and weeks. Like nothing major, even on the West Coast, which makes me nervous. If we don't have, there's been swarms. It's not been quiet. Come on, right off of, I'm not trying to gungle up all the data, but we have had some significant things happening off the coast, all over it, and it's alerted everybody, a bunch of people. But what I meant is just to backstep the words, is that I think it's Alaskan energy, but that could easily, and it does come right on down through, like Dutch Sense shows us on his videos. It comes right on down through the fault lines along the West Coast and through the tectonic plates, and right on down to South America. It's a fact that it does that. So, and then sometimes also things will go this way, and then you also have the opposite where you'll have a 7 foot or a 7.5 or a 7.2 or whatever on one, and then the exact opposite on the Earth. You'll see it pop over there. There's a name for that too, the apothic or something. I'm not sure what it is, but right on hand. I've definitely used it. So the Scorpio, when people are in the holidays, they're self-medicating. Mentally ill people, when they are, whether it's a small like non-life-threatening depressive mood disorder, that's technically, it's a mental illness, and a lot of people, we all have rounds of it, to extreme where it's almost creating like bipolar for people. And then when you toss in medications, you toss in alcohol, and someone goes into an alcoholic depression on top of a pre-existing mood depression that was already there, or even suicidal thoughts, you toss in the alcohol on a deep bender. It's not just an afternoon. These people will drink for weeks, every day, all day. Deep benders on all of that depressive mood disorders, and they kill people. Like we saw with the bus driver up in Seattle. And apparently last year, the year before that, the same dude killed his roommate and said it was in self-defense. And so like the police let him walk or something. The DA wouldn't have been the police. It would have been whoever it was, the judge. Judge said there wasn't enough evidence. It couldn't prove it wasn't self-defense. There's a fine line there, but now he's killed a bus driver. So, I mean, you're dealing with serial killer, and he'll kill again and again, but they got that guy. But the point is that that's an alcoholic rage. You can see these alcoholic type of patterns from severe depressive alcoholic type of people. And they're almost always going to be using other substances as well, but sometimes they could just be heavy drinkers. But the streets, it's just, especially right now, with the borders open for the last 5 years, 4 years plus, there's so much drugs on the street that it's practically free. I'm serious. We're talking about, it's cheaper than coffee or newspaper. It's really, it's bad. That's bad. When it's, of course, crime's pretty steady, but crime spikes when that stuff gets more expensive. So, everyone's sedated and doing flattened out on the yoga. They're like upright, and they're like, and then their arms are kind of like, you're like, how did they bend like that? Did you see that guy? I mean, it's like, I've never even seen like yoga masters do like stretches like that. I mean, that's, whoa. I mean, that's definitely some muscle relaxer mixed in with whatever God only knows concoction of weird dragon smoke that you are chasing, my friend. And they're all down there. It's like group yoga. Like you see yoga guys with their mats, so they're always out there stretching together. And let's greet the sun. Thank you, sun. They got all these different poses. Well, the Fenty yoga crowd is doing the same thing. It's like, now I say hi to the ants. Hello, ants. How are you today? It was like the metamorphosis, like Kafka. They're chasing the ants. It happens like that. It's. I've never seen anything like it. I've been around everything for a long time. I've seen it all, and I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I've seen it. There's the cat in the back shot there. No kitty. I mean, I've seen like heroin. I've seen heroin addicts that are like that. People where they're sleeping but they're walking. Like you'll see that they're sleeping but their eyes are open and they're riding the bus, but they're not there. I mean, they're gone. But Their eyes are open and they're on the bus. I've seen a lot of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, but this is different. I mean, it's really, really. You can tell it's supercharged and it's mixed and it's really fucked up. This shit is just fucking gross. The border's got to be closed. We're still gonna have to deal with runners and mules and all kinds of other shit, even when the borders are closed. But even more so, we need like a demilitarized zone of probably I'd like 100 miles. Somebody said 50 miles. I think we should do 100 miles south, and it'll be a neutral zone. So, and that should probably suck up. Like, if we were to push the border 100 miles, we'll probably get like 50% of the traffickers right there in that living along that border. And there's things that could be done there, and they should be done. I mean, I would. We have to at this point. We got 200,000 people are being massacred with overdoses, including teens and children, every day now. Every day. So, and then you've got the human trafficking. We have millions of children that are missing. Like 400,000 but we know it's higher than that because they've been flying them in. You got Catholic Charities and all these NGOs they're flying in the unknown unknowns in to do God only knows what unknown stuff. What the fuck is going on? We got legalized human trafficking through the NGOs, like Catholic Charities. And then the hires people, the hearers, the Hebrew immigrant refugee down there. So that's what this Panama Canal thing, if you've been wondering why this is all in the chatterbox. And then there's Greenland too, which Greenland just seems like a rational grab. And I actually like just actually taking Canada with it. We should just do one swipe. I liked that joke. Trudeau could be the governor, but we're just North America. Work out the sovereign nations with the First Nations and the Indigenous and on the treaties. Expand their land by tenfold, whatever they want. I'm sure that's what they want, and give them more land. We'll just swipe it in. We'll just call that. We already do call it North America. We will just call that. U.S. What do we call it? U.S. territory. I actually think Greenland. I'm leaning more towards Melania land. I mean, we might as well call it after the First Lady. I mean, she's awesome enough. So Greenland becomes Melania land. Someone said called it Trump land or Trumpville. They were doing that with the Golan Heights and Trump Heights. I think it's really tacky. And we shouldn't be dicking around over in the Golan Heights. All that's a side note, but I mean, just the renaming of another neighborhood. It doesn't look good. And even if you're Trump and you've got Trump buildings all over the planet, it still doesn't look good when you're doing that. But whatever. Staying positive. If you're thinking about jumping off bridges, don't. Okay, because tomorrow you may wake up and you will not want to jump off bridges. And that would be too late if you did just go act on that thought. Like, okay, this is it. I'm jumping, and boom. If they can't get fished out, most people can't. They're not, especially at night. It's cold. You probably only got about 10 or 15 minutes in there, 20 minutes at the most. Or could be a lot quicker than that. You just go straight on down. It's a rough way to go anyways. I don't want anybody jumping off bridges. That jackass down at U of O, and I hope he lost his job if I read that right. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell MAGA to jump off a bridge. Don't tell your enemies to jump off bridges. Nobody jump off any bridges. Okay? Can we just all agree on one thing? Right? Let's just agree on one thing. Nobody's jumping off the bridges. Nobody's being advised to jump off the bridges. Nobody's going to jump off bridges anymore. If you're thinking about jumping off a bridge, we need to have a place where you can come, have a cup of coffee, have your favorite donut, get you into a nice dry spot, and you can talk to a quality crisis counselor. Okay? And that's what I envision, is like Starbucks. If it's that easy to walk in and get a donut at Voodoo Donuts, wait in the line, you got to wait in the line sometimes. Sometimes the tourists come and they wait like a couple of hours in the line to get a fucking Voodoo Donut. It might be like that for healthcare too. It might be like that to get some crisis counseling. I mean, can you hang out in the line? You get a fucking Voodoo Donut at the end. Everybody wants those donuts. I mean, I don't eat them. I've known too many people that worked for that, and there's something not right with that business. Okay, I don't want to, but they're not right. I'm not eating donuts from that place. Okay, but you do you, and I will do me. But see, I fell down a Voodoo Donut wormhole. I can't remember how I was trying to summarize up on. Speaking of depressed people, look at the Voodoo staff. But the lost my stream of thought there. But in the times of it was Infowars. AJ brother Jones was talking about. He was reading A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a tale of two cities. That's really America. It's really Portland. It's really all of our major cities and the small cities. I don't really look at Portland as a major city. We're like a little big city. It's always been that way, but that's kind of what makes it cool. But then it's cliquey and people jump off bridges all the time. It's like, that's not cool. But suicide is really high in the Pacific Northwest. And I know that suicides are high in Alaska. You could kind of 20 hours of darkness. I mean, if you don't have light therapy and some sort of like medications, like something, cannabis might be good, but cannabis may not be good if you, I don't know. It may not be good in that environment up there. You need, I think, actually stimulants would be better for you in the winter than any type of mood depressive. Because it's dark for 20 hours. But the Northwest, we've always had excessive high amounts of depressive mood disorders, severe to where it's suicide. It might be why there's so much. Used to be, obviously now all over with the heavy narcotics use, but like the 90s, why was there so much heroin? Why were so many people checking out? I mean, what was up with that? You kind of you see a connection with that moderate to severe depressive mood disorders, right? And that's what puts the thoughts into someone's head where it's like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to give up. And you don't want to be a quitter. Nobody respects a quitter. Suicide is quitting. You're giving up. You are a fighter. You are a warrior. That's the last thing you do is quit. Give up. And I know what some of you boxers do is you do the fight and then you self-medicate. And, do what you got to do. If that keeps you going, it's going to wreak hell on your body, but you stayed above ground and you fought through it. It's fighting in a way. But, the older I get, the more I'm like, wow, the damage of alcohol. And then you see fentanyl and there was Oxycontins and all these heavy opiate type things, but that nothing beats this fentanyl where they're just smoking it like crack right in the public and it completely decapitates. Decapitates? Oh my God, that would be a messy cleanup, but at least it'd be an end to the addiction. But I'm at a turning point with our crisis with fentanyl that I think we ought to stop administering the Narcan. I've seen people that their bodies become so resistant to that here in the building 4, 5, 6 times that's shot into their nose and into their body, and it still didn't bring them back. Why are we doing that? I feel like If people are that depressed, we kind of have to respect their rights to actually cross over. And I know that sounds so cold hearted and like anti medical, anti science. It's like, what kind of a therapist or a counselor would say, oh, we'll just let them go? It's like, it just sounds really bad. Um, and we do need to fight and keep those that have got a will, keep them alive. We can influence people's lives. The bottom line at the end of the day is we're just influencing. We're not making the decisions. The executive decisions is it's coming in people's brains and in their hearts. And if they're disconnected from God, if they're disconnected from a spiritual power, God and the Holy Ghost, if there's that connection isn't there, man, they go into some dark, dark places. You can see how dark these people, you can see it in their eyes. They are just so unwell, so unhappy. And then they'll talk. I was talking to a guy a couple days, just last night downstairs. He was talking good, but it was, you could just see it was like he was a bridge jumper. I mean, he was really weighing out his options. Housing wasn't there, and he was depressed, and he was just kind of talking like he was at an end. You don't know exactly how they're gonna necessarily jump off of a bridge, but there's overdoses. There's I suspect that people keep talking about, oh, another car has killed a pedestrian. Um, I've had friends that have done that intentionally and been hit by cars and killed. I've known people that have done that on train tracks and suicide by train and were killed. So I suspect, and there is even data to back it up from the past. I don't know about 2024, but if it happened in 2021, 22, 23, or whatever, people are jumping out. They're so depressed that they're actually walking out or jaywalking, and I've seen it out in front of Foster for years. This is why so many people have been killed in Foster's. There's a lot of people that are doing it intentionally. They are depressed, they're loaded, or they're jonesing, they're fiending, they're coming off of the drugs and the high, and that is a wicked, wicked dark place. They can't look past the afternoon, more or less look past tomorrow and the next day. It's over. It's either now or never, and they become with pre-existing psychological issues. And then you throw in my theory, then you throw in intensifiers, right? The intensification of the Scorpio, which is revenge. I'm angry. I'm going to kill that ex-wife that's got me paying child support and I can't see all my children. That guy. I mean, I can just see these guys snapping. And it's revenge. It's payback. I get you. Aloha snack bar. I want the Hawaiian pineapple plate. Da, 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 da. Aloha snack bar. I want the pineapple plate. So we got a lot of things going on. We got volcanoes cracking and snapping. There's one in Mexico. There was Japan, Indonesia. I mean, it's just, I think El Diablo. Was it El Diablo? And then the rumbling. So that tells me that the dragon, the Geo Dragon, they all kind of connect like that. And then with the CMEs intensifying, which I think that has to do something to the core. It's obviously because you see what it does to the ionosphere and the layers of the atmosphere, the colors. The scientific data is obvious. I'm not saying that's negative or positive. There could be some debates. I do imply that electromagnetic energy, especially people that are full of lipid nanoparticles that are self-replicating, aluminum, that's when people are full of aluminum in their food supply and their air and they're loaded. What's metal do? Metal is a conduit of electricity, electromagnetic energy, electricity, electro. We're walking golf clubs with the lightning storm. basically. You get my point. So, storm's brewing, but be ready for it. And the storm is exciting rather than devastating. We're going through tough times. This next year, it's going to be a tale of two cities. It's going to be the best of times, and it's going to be the worst of times. I really do believe that, because the economy, I think the market's got to still bottom out. They've been pumping trillions into it, printing money. It's got to collapse, and the housing bubble is ready to burst. So I think that Biden and those guys, Fed Reserve, they've all kept that going, pumping the brakes. And unfortunately, I think it's going to collapse. And it'll take crypto down with it. I don't think crypto's going to replace it. I got a real beef with Bitcoin. Hour and 10 minutes. Let me wrap this up. I got a beef with Bitcoin because it's not free market. It's being controlled and manipulated like a Federal Reserve. And until you have a crypto that's used widespread, that is free, it's truly not being manipulated, then it's really the same type of boogeyman trap as printing money in the Federal Reserve. Not to mention all this mining stuff. They're talking about they got to mine crypto. It's like, what the fuck, guys? It's like Monopoly money in like a space film. It's like, what are you talking about? I understand the whole energy in this. You're sucking it up. So where you're going to need that for your artificial intelligence and your robots, but yet households are going to have blackouts and brownouts. And then you're going to say nuclear power is what we need. Nuclear power is fucked. Nuclear power creates nuclear waste that is still leaking into the Hanford, leaking in dust storms into the Columbia River in my backyard. Why is skin cancer so much higher up there around that radioactive dust that's blowing off of Hanford Reach all over Hood River and all over the Dalles? Huh? You tell me. I'm not saying correlation, causation. I don't know. Where's the correlate? Where's the causate? Causation, Aiden. But yeah, there's obvious stuff that's happening out there. There's also stuff in the water. It gives the windsurfers rashes. Yeah, Columbia River, man. We've treated it poorly, and it shows. But that's a whole nother video. So I've combined the Astro, talked about the Scorpion danger. That's the revenge with family. The intensity of the Scorpio moon is, it's going to be easy to get into fights and physical altercations as well, which the Scorpio, it can be a really intense prime time for romantic sexual encounters with your partner and lover. If the your guys' relationship is good, you can actually ride that Scorpio sexual energy and seduction into a really sparky romance. And how more sexy than Christmas, the Christmas stocking stuffers, and all that fun stuff, and beverages, and just really, it's just a season to really deep tissue massage and just rubbing out all that tension, just knocking it out. Scorpio energy is powerful, and it's really good that way, but it also is a real red flag. I'm allergic to it as a Taurus. When the Scorpio, it's the exact opposite end. It's like the opposite, Taurus, and then you go across the zodiac, and it is Scorpio. So I attract a lot of Scorpio people. My grandfather, the painter, was a Scorpio. He had, tons of wives, and secretaries. It was everywhere he went. The guy was just really, he was all hands and bling bling and charm. But that's Scorpio, that sexual type of energy, but it's also, or lately it's all just stabby stab. We don't want to stab. We don't want these people stabbing. We want to have the energy of the rock, right? The crystals, the amethyst, the emerald, I love the obsidian. Oh man, obsidian. I've got a couple of nice, beautiful obsidians. This one's really powerful though too. Crystals, symbolic. It's symbolic of the recharge, right? Lasers, crystal, light, and healing, the rebirth. All of that is coming our way. It's coming. It may not feel like that. And I know that these last couple of years, at least 4 years, 4 or 5 years, have been holy hell on everyone. I don't care who you are, left, right, authoritarian, civil, whatever. It's hit everybody. And mass formation psychosis in different ways and different loops has taken its toll. And you can tell people are not well. And you can also tell here in Portland that they released the not well out of the state hospitals, out of the mental wards, and we don't have public DAs, public defenders, the district attorneys to allocate these caseloads and get them the defense, which is required by law. Yeah, everyone that commits a crime, you have a right to a speedy trial now, don't you? What happens when you don't have public defenders? They walk. The criminals are walking, and they're walking the streets, and they're reoffending and reoffending and reoffending. So it's a lot of this is really going to go into the hands of we the people. Now, I don't mean vigilante type stuff but people can interpret it that way. It's just really, it's about, the old neighborhood watch, being block captains and keeping an eye on things. And when you see something that's wrong, you make an intervention, but be smart about it. Always think ahead. Don't do anything irrational or out of anger. That Scorpio is so anger. It's short temper, right? That stinger is like, and the poison comes squirting right out of the tail, man. And that energy is around for a couple of days. Did I say when it ends? It goes all the way through. It's Wednesday, Thursday. Kwanzaa begins. Friday, still Friday. It's, by the way, one thing I didn't mention is the moon is in a void course. So all day today, if you felt like things were a little bit odd, the moon was in between signs. It's in like a wobble where they call a void of course. It's not on the Scorpio track. That doesn't happen until 12:06 Pacific Coast time. So that'd be 3:06 a.m. East Coast Standard Time. So West Coast Surfer Boy, it's 12:06, just about an hour and a half now. And that clicks into the Scorpio. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually had kind of some sort of weird natural phenomenon right around at midnight, right as this is clicking. It's going to, like literally right at 12:01, 12:06, 12:08, right at that time, I can see kind of trouble, the stranger danger. I don't know exactly what. Is it the train wreck? We got a plane down. Is it missiles? We're in the middle of World War IV. So that's the other thing. It's a horrible time for wartime. That's the revenge, the payback, the massacre, the mafia hits, the military strikes, radioactive warheads, revenge. That's really where we're at. That's the danger we're in. I hate to say it even out loud. I don't like to say things like that because it feels like has potential to manifest. I'm very careful with my words because we manifest things. You got to be careful what you ask for. Can I get a witness? Somebody say amen. It's like you ask for something, you better be ready for it. You hear these guys going around, or actually it's more been lately, it's been women. There's so many beautiful, lonely women online. You can tell this whole bioweapon, it has hit them hard. There's no dating, and it was shut down everything. It was all the interaction. A lot of them were in relationships, and then the pandemic, it split them up. I'd like to hear the stories on that. I'd like to hear somebody write a book about all the stories of the relationships that the pandemic actually, because you hear about the domestic violence, and it was like you coop people up with their abuser, and then they're there and they're just punched like a punching bag, like a boxer in a gym, just banging the shit out of these women and violent women. Look at all the violent women. My God, I've known just as many violent women in my life as I've seen of dudes. Honestly, I don't say that lightly. Women can be very, very gangster, and there's something about an alpha female. It's kind of attractive, right? But it's also can be dangerous. The whole point of that was that though, is that it that type of emotional type of reaction is a part of the Scorpio moon. So it's not on like a super moon, like on a super, but at the same time. So then it's void of course 6 tomorrow, and then at 11:46 Friday. So all day Wednesday Scorpio, all day Friday Scorpio. Multiple days headed into the weekend. Scorpio. Death, revenge, and self-medication. People depressed, people separated from their families, people a train wreck emotionally, financially, drifting, not well, not well. And then that's our domestic. Then you've got the foreign operatives. This is a perfect prime time for these jackasses to start with their fuckery. We heard, we saw, we read a signal. They're trying to blame Iran for a false flag. That will happen, and they will try. It won't be Iran. They're going to get pinned for it. Now they're saying Pakistan. Pakistan makes more sense. They're smaller. They have nukes. People always underestimate. Pakistan actually has nuclear power, folks. You guys are asleep at the wheel. It's real. India, Pakistan, Iran, nukes all ready to go triangulation style. That could easily happen. That could be what I'm sensing. It's like something nuclear. I hope I'm wrong about that, but I could easily be wrong. It's definitely wartime. That's not a hard reach. I'm not really stretching to say, we're already using depleted uranium warheads that create child mutations for generations. I mean, we're already doing fucking radioactive shit, but it could even be bigger. And I think Israel has actually been using. I think they used something radioactive on Syrian mountain. They said they were blowing up depot. It might have been something that was just in there. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there was some nuclear type of enrichment in that. It's a biblical mountain, Hormel. It's H. God, I'm terrible sometimes with my name, but with names I get blanked out sometimes. Sorry, but normally I just have that all prepped up and just ready to go on with a slide, some chart notes. But the point is that I think it's been already happened. I mean, it looked like the video looked like it was something that looked excessively. I'm not some nuclear ballistic specialist. I don't even want to fucking pretend. I'm sorry, but it just, when you see the videos, you're like, that there's something not quite right there. I mean, that looks a little bit bigger than what normal is, crazy normal, but whatever. It could happen again. It's going to get worse. Is the problem. It's not really analyzing the past. It's more of preparing for the future. Try to stay positive. Try to keep your mind positive. Try not to tell yourself negative things. Is that programming when we tell ourselves things? Beautiful women tell themselves that they're not beautiful or they're ugly all the time, and it's so self-defeatist. They don't even know that they're doing it. Some of it is from the programming of corporations. The corporations program women so they'll sell more makeup, get more plastic surgeries, do all this. They say these women are beautiful. Beautiful women telling themselves they're fat and they are so gorgeous, so gorgeous. It's like, my God. Listen, there'll be a whole bunch of guys that like really thin, like a 12-year-old Boy Scout. They like that. Not the bros, not this bro. Then there'll be other guys that love plus size or even just curvy. It's not even close to what I would call some derogatory term. But that's just me. But that is a huge part of civilization. If we got a bunch of eating disorders and psychological dysfunction instead of alpha females like dominating and cougars tackling their young cub, which is very good for population growth, not control. We want growth. We want U.S. babies to bounce, skyrocket, and because it's so low, we got to turn it around. Skyrocketing means just bring it back to normalcy, right? I don't know, man. We're in some weird times, but anyway, an hour and a half is too long. But I did want to get out all that stuff. That's why I didn't do the quick little 2-minute, 20-second. I might want to do those to try a couple of them tomorrow, though. I like to do it. It's fast and it holds people attention. If you can get your brain to snap and get it out faster, like that forces me to, in 20 seconds, it forces me to condense and get that message out. And it's a time to really, it's white people, white pill people. We want to white pill people, not black pill. That means white pill is positive. Positive. The black pill is doomsdayer. These are the people that are creating suicidal patients. These are the people that are triggering and nudging the suicidal patient off the bridge because they're negative. They're little black pill. Don't vote. Doesn't matter. It's all corrupt. We're dead. We're doomed. The feds have got you. Feds are following you. You're going to die. And it's like, what's wrong with you? What the fuck's wrong with you? Normal people are not worried about feds following us around. And oh my God, they're going to kill me and blow up my car. It's like, what's wrong with you? Quit telling people that. Quit thinking that. Those people, they're programmed their brains into thinking and believing, and then they're speaking out what they've programmed themselves to believe as it's like a contagious. It's like a viral infection. The people around them, it spreads. Like Whitney Webb and these Derek Bros down there at his little avocado farm. These guys, they're like cults. They are like cults. There's no difference in any politics. Everyone's the same. You're all a bunch of idiots and the hero worship and just idiot fucks. Call themselves anarchists, but they're endorsing Democrats for Houston Council. I mean, dude, you're such a pathetic. Those are trust fund little spoiled brats. They got land and property that's been handed to them. Probably never worked and probably just taking trust funds out. I grew up with those people in Portland. I don't have a bad feeling towards them, but when those people are like with that guy, Bros, Whitney Webb trust fund bimbos acting like they're enlightened and they know the secrets to everything about the federal government and layers within, and it's all around Elon, and Elon is the wizard behind the curtain of Oz, and you're all fools following Trump. And it's just, these people are just in another world. They got a right to think what they want, but man, we ain't gonna let them fucking just talk shit like that and not challenge it. We should challenge them. They are challenged. But you got to stay positive. Don't fall into those guys as wormholes and their black holes and their thinking. That doomsdayer cult shit is not good. That is not good. So pick up this for next year. I've got to get my new one. I don't have the 2025 yet, but I think I got Amazon. I think they were $10 on Amazon. You can find them at bookstores sometimes, but get yourself into doing morning pages, doing creative projects, and then finding and seeking out other creative people, because there is strength in numbers, even though artists can be difficult sometimes. It's a lot of power on brief interactions with them, socials or monthly art shows, which is what I want to start doing again. I haven't done that for years. And I 10 years, I've had different galleries and things, art collectives. I want to look for another space, and I want to start doing that because there is strength in numbers. There is a power in coming together as an artistic and creative. It's not only therapeutic, it's actually good business, and it's politics, because we're community organizing on the grassroots level by we're having music and we're giving people entertainment and we're selling them artwork. Hopefully, I mean, that's a plan. That's a part of the plan, and it's always been that way. That's the cycle of artisans and crafts and collectors. it's a beautiful relationship. It's the holy triangulation with oil paints or all creativity. So find your medium. If you need help, find a medium. Reach out. Reach out. We need to develop some networks where we can connect with people, whether it's artists, whether it's I see a Patriot dating apps. I've told a couple people, I guess there's some people that are already trying to do that or have that going or trying to promote it. But we're at an age where we need some sort of type of dating type of apps. We got to get people out into a casual mingling. And that needs to happen online because a lot of us are still isolated and we're all over the country. So, I mean, how are you going to connect all these different energies except for we harness that energy, that electromagnetic energy from online? It's the internets, the interwebs. The power of the crystal. You have unlocked. Vaya con Dios. Go with God. May the power be with you. God bless. Stay positive. Or tomorrow, you may be happy that you didn't say goodbye yesterday.